Hi everyone, my name is Ross Kim. You may know me by Teams as Ross Shrek. My surname is incorrect on Teams. Today I'm going to just show you real quick, just give you a quick rundown of the three main Adobe programs, which are Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. So to begin, I'm going to share my screen with you. Now, the good thing about Zoom is actually if you hold Shift, you can share multiple screens. Tabs. There we go. So I have two screens selected here. Starting off, I'm just going to share one screen, and that's going to be my secondary screen. Oh, you know what? Let's not do that. I'll share my primary screen with you. Okay, so you can see my primary screen now. I have all three of the programs down here. They're all open right now. I just wanted to share one screen with you starting off just to explain why using dual screens is actually better. So let's start with Photoshop. Now, the good thing about the three Adobe programs are they all have very similar interfaces and they can all talk to each other really well. So if you look at Photoshop, if I were to open up, say, here we go. Uh, you have presets. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to open up a new file, or you can open up an existing file, of course. In this case, we're opening up a new file. You have all these default dimensions that you can open up with. Just open this. And we have our new file. Now, Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, they all have the same interface. So they open up in tabs. Now, this is your main canvas right here. If you press F, it'll go to full screen. And if you press F again, it'll take your palettes away. And the way to maneuver, and this goes for all three programs, if you hold space, you can move your canvas around like this. We're going to go back to the screen because I just wanted to show you, I'm working on single monitor. So if you go to Window Workspace, there are all these default presets. So if I choose photography, say I'm editing an image I took with a camera, then it'll automatically open up the relevant palettes on the right here that you can see. And then I have my canvas on the left. I do not like working this way because I like to have my main canvas on one screen and then my palettes on the other. So I have a preset to monitor, just like this. Now, the only palette showing on my main screen are my layers. And in Photoshop, if those of you who work with Photoshop, you have to work with a lot of layers, which is why I have this. The rest of my palettes, though, are on my other screen. So I'm going to stop sharing, and now I'm going to share both screens with you. Okay, so now I'm sharing both screens with you. On the left-hand side is my main monitor, and on the right is my extra monitor. So now we're working dual monitor. And if we go up here, once again, this is if you're working single monitor, you have your presets, and you have the palettes here on the right, and you're not using your extra monitor at all. However, if you go up to workspace and you have your customized preset, then it looks like this. Okay, so now I have all my palettes on the right, and then I can go full screen just like this. This is much more convenient. Okay, so I just want to explain, and you may know, I know a lot of people, when they start off working with Adobe, probably they use Photoshop the most, and that's because it's the most useful program. because people like to edit images. I just wanted to show you an example. These are some icons I made in Photoshop. Now, ideally, Photoshop is used for manipulating pixels, especially photographers like to use Photoshop. So that's Photoshop's main purpose. Think of it, it's actually considered a raster program. And so it's used to mainly manipulate pixels. Um, as you can see here, I have all these layers in Photoshop, and these are all groups. I can take a group away. That's group. So group 49 is the bottom icon. My computer is super slow because Zoom takes up way too much CPU. You can see the icon on the bottom right here. It disappears when I turn off this layer. Now this is all pixel, but what I did was I imported from AI, which in the design world, AI does not mean artificial intelligence, it means Adobe Illustrator. I imported from AI and into Photoshop, and there's a reason that I did that. Now, the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator is Illustrator is a vector program, so it's all line-based, no pixels. So it's basically used to make shapes. It's not used for layouts. You can use it for layouts, but it's not ideally used for layouts. Layouts are for InDesign. InDesign now, it's both raster, vector, it's both, and it kind of brings everything together, which is why it's a layout program. The reason that I imported an AI object into Photoshop is because, well, if you go to Illustrator, okay, so once again, my presets. So if you look up here, my workspace, it's dual monitor. I could go to essentials, and this is if I were working, just with one monitor. So it has all the relevant palettes to the right. But like I said, this is inconvenient, so let's go dual. The same goes with Illustrator. If you press F, it goes full screen. Press F again, it'll go full screen without your palettes. Press F again, and you go back to regular mode. If you press Command R, which I do not know where that is in the menu, so just remember Command R, then it'll bring up your rulers. You need your rulers because if you have your rulers, you can set guides. So I just set a guide right there. The inconvenient thing about AI is, as far as I know, you cannot remove guides, but in InDesign you can. This is actually my company logo. To zoom in, you'll hold Command and you can press plus or minus. Minus zooms out, plus zooms in. Now, this is my company logo that I made, and this is all done in AI, and it's all vector. So if you zoom in, you can zoom in as far as you want. It's just line. There are no pixels here, which means the good thing is you can print this at any size and it will not degrade the quality of the image. But like I said, Illustrator is primarily just used to make things like this, make shapes, make icons, and make logos. Now, you can simply copy. So I just press Command C. And then you can paste. Oh, you know what? I'm getting that confused. That's not with Photoshop. What you have to do is you have to save this image. So I would have to save this as a ping file. So if you go up to File, and you go to Export, so you can export as. Zoom slows my computer down, I think by 10 times. Okay, you can select, and you have all these, so you can select ping. Now, if you use artboard, it's going to export the entire canvas. But if you unclick artboard, it'll export only what you have selected. Or not what you have selected. It will export all the shapes that you've made in the canvas. We're gonna skip that though. So what you do is you would export as a ping file, and then you open up that ping file in Photoshop. Okay, so these were all once exported pings from Illustrator that I brought into Photoshop. And the reason I do this is because here's AI. Now, AI has effects. So you can add effects, you can warp things, you can distort, you can add textures, you can add, drop shadows and everything. But because AI is a vector program, I wouldn't recommend using AI effects. So if you want to add an effect to say an icon, then it would be better to import it as a ping into Photoshop, and then you can use your filters here. And this will add better effects actually. So Photoshop is ideal for that. So don't use, and the same goes with InDesign. Okay, so I have an InDesign document here. I could use effects in InDesign as well, but InDesign effects are about as good as AI effects, so I recommend not using them. Now let's go back to AI real quick. If you want to make shapes, what you can do is you can make shapes from fonts, whatever. But the tool that you're going to use the most often is the pen tool. And this is how you use the pen tool. So you click, you can drag, and then you click again, drag. Let's say I want to make this, I don't know if this is a liver, the shape here, an odd shape. So I just made a shape, and this is vector. Okay. Now there are all these tools here. I don't have time. I can't explain everything to you. I'm going to take this shape. Now, contrary to Photoshop, what you can do is you can actually copy. So I just press Command C, and then open up InDesign, and you can paste it. Okay, there we go. So I just pasted it into InDesign. It's the exact same format. All it is line. Actually, I pasted it twice. Same line. And that's because the reason you can do this with InDesign and not Photoshop is because InDesign is also a vector-based program. So you have all these shapes. The shape was once again generated in Illustrator, and now it's in InDesign. And you can edit it the same way in InDesign. See, so I'm removing my handles here, and this is in InDesign. So I'm editing a Photoshop element here in InDesign. Now in InDesign, you can actually do pretty much everything that you can do in AI. And so that's why in our chat, I was recommending using InDesign instead, because AI is not a layout program. For what we're doing, say in our assignments, we have to make, slides. InDesign would be ideal for that. AI is not at all. So what you do is you can come into InDesign and you can open a new document. I forgot exactly the dimensions of a PPT slide, but if you choose exactly the same dimensions, let's say that this is the right dimension, then we create our document here. Okay, looks like this is for a trifold because we have our guides here. Then you can set your guides. Unlike Illustrator, once you set a guide, you can't move the guide. It's just there permanently. I don't know why. It's really inconvenient. But with InDesign, I can set a guide here. I can select it. I can delete it. Okay, it's a great thing about InDesign. And InDesign, when you're working on layouts, you're going to use your guides a lot. So get used to using those. And the way you make guides is you just pull it from the ruler on the side. And you can set your guides. Now, another good thing, and this is something you can't do in InDesign, I'm sorry, in AI, is in AI, you cannot calculate the exact coordinate of a guide or a shape. But as you can see, this is the x-axis. Now, if I go up to the top left, right now my guide is set at 40.75 millimeters. I can say if I want to edit that, I can set it to 50, and it's set to 50. So that's one reason that InDesign is a vastly superior program. Now you saw me make this, I made the shape in AI. You can do exactly the same thing. So you go to your pen tool once again. This is InDesign. You can do exactly the same thing. I'm just making a similar shape right now. There, you got a shape. If you want to fill the shape, you can fill it. Let's fill it, make it black. If you want to, say, give it a border, then you can choose here and make your border larger. There, we have a border. Okay, you can adjust your border in many ways. Also, to the left-hand side, you have your tool palette. If you double click, here is your color palette. So you can choose what color you want it to be. On the very bottom, we have the sharp symbol. Especially you HTML coders out there, you know that we use the sharp symbol. This is for hexadecimal values. We use hexadecimal values, of course, for colors. So say if I wanted to make it like mid-gray, then I'll go 555, 555, and that is gray. There we go. So you can choose your colors by using hexadecimal values. It's showing the outline of the shape. If you hold Command apostrophe, it'll take away your guides. You go up to Window, and let's see, what am I looking for here? Oh, I'm sorry. We go to View. I always have mine set on a high quality display. However, that can slow down your computer if you have a lot of shapes. And then go to extras, and you just want to hide your frame edges so you can see it as it will appear in your slideshow. Okay, so I think that about does it. I hope that's helpful to you guys, and I hope now you understand, if you haven't already, the reason why InDesign is a much better program to use. Thank you very much, and I'll be in touch in Teams.